Greetings of peace and welcome. My name is Anthea Alexander, and I'm joining you from chilly Melbourne, Australia. I am joined by my lovely colleagues and friends from around Australia, and they can introduce themselves and tell you a bit about them and where they're from, and perhaps what they currently do in their lives, and perhaps what they have done in the past. So basically, each Friday night when we're available, we get together, a group of like-minded people, to discuss different topics of interest and relevance in our daily life. And the original theme so it started off with Yogi Sanjiva and myself, or as we affectionately call him, Sanji, amongst other things that we call him, but that's, yeah, the nicest one. Just mucking around. And
Is that bullying?
it could be. We can go through the points of bullying later, and we can make a decision whether that was bullying or joking. So basically, Sanji and I connected on LinkedIn, and Sanji invited me to work with him, and we came up with the idea of having a regular discussion, inviting everybody. And the theme is about living consciously. It was back in 2024. We're now in 2026. So living consciously is the umbrella theme. But we have a whole range of topics that we've discussed. And our topic for this evening is bullying. And this, well, basically, how to combat bullies, how to successfully live with bullies, how to manage bullies, however you might like to phrase it. And this came out of our discussion last week, which was about managing our ego. No, it wasn't. Was it managing our ego, or was it another one? No.
Boundaries.
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 Boundaries. Thanks for the reminder. So we discussed boundaries, and we were thinking about continuing to discuss boundaries, but Rae has actually suggested speaking about bullies. So we're going to talk about bullies. We can do a deep dive into bullies tonight and bullying behavior and how to manage it, action steps that we can take to combat it successfully in our lives. So, I'll tell you just a little bit more about myself. So, I am a coach and a healer, and I'm very interested in all aspects of healing, particularly spiritual healing. I'm fascinated with meditation, and I practice meditation regularly. And I host a meditation session on a Monday night for anybody who's interested in joining me. It's at 8 p.m. Melbourne time, Australian Eastern Standard Time. And I also am interested in the unseen, spirituality. I have recently been in Bali for a week and had an amazing retreat learning all about neuro-linguistic programming and also hypnosis, amongst other things, which I will get certification in time. Just need to finish off some practical hours. And I'm very excited to use those. I already am using some of those techniques that I learned in my everyday life and in my own, with other people, and also with myself and how I show up in the world. But I'm very interested in learning, using those techniques in the future with my coaching and mentoring work and healing work. So watch this space. I'll be offering some different group workshops and individual sessions as well. Okay, I think I've covered everything that I wanted to say. So I will hand it over to Rae, and I'll get her to introduce herself, and then Connie, then Michael, and then Sanji, and then we can get stuck into our topic for this evening. All right, over to you, Rae.
Thank you, Anthea. Thanks everybody for being here. We love our Friday night chats. Um, I am in far north Queensland in a place called Atherton on the Atherton Tablelands, which is just inland from Cairns, a really beautiful spot, although a little bit chilly this time of year, but we're trying to cope. We've got all the heaters on in the house. I spend most of my life as a registered nurse, so 30 years, and I stopped being a nurse in 2019. So I've been out in the big wide world for a while now. I took up pottery as a work-life balance while I was nursing because you have to look after your mental health, especially when you've been there for as long as I was, and fell in love with clay. And I'm lucky enough to be able to sidestep my career into doing pottery full time. But because of my background, I tend to make things for the funeral industry. So cremation earns angels because that whole circle of life and grief and everything is, I'm very comfortable with all that stuff. That's kind of me. So I've my whole life tried to make sense of the world. And now I now realize that that was just a ridiculous idea. But I've just bounced around all these theories, and I've got a few things to fit into place that I kind of understand. And bullying, the way I look at it, is one of those. So I feel like I can talk a little bit about bullying and how to handle bullies. So I'm looking forward to sharing my perspective on that as we go around again. So I'll now hand it over to one of my dearest friends, Connie, who will tell you about herself, I hope.
Thank you, Rae. Hello, everyone. I'm Connie, and I live in Cairns, which is not far from Rae. I have spent my life in nursing as well, and we deal with bullies every day, either from each other, or from the patients, or from the doctors, or from anyone who feels like bullying a nurse. So you do have to put your boundaries in place and stand up for yourself because no one else is going to. Other than that, I'm retired, enjoying it, and living my life. That's about me. I think Michael's next, is he?
Yep.
Yep.
Thanks, Connie. I'm Michael, and I'm based in the lovely Northern Rivers of northern New South Wales. And in my day job, I work primarily with students of English as a second language in a vocational education environment. So I work predominantly with adult migrants learning English. But when I'm not sort of in a classroom or in an educational setting, I spend a lot of my time exploring, a lot of the topics that my fellow co-hosts and contributors also are interested in. So topics like psychology and interpersonal relationships and communication, through to spirituality and meditation and almost everything in between. Um, Unfortunately, Georgie can't be with us tonight as she's a bit unwell. So here's wishing you well, Georgie. If you get a chance to watch this recording, I'll be hoping that you're feeling a lot better very, very soon. It's a shame that yeah, we couldn't get your input, but it'll be great to have you back when you're feeling better. The topic of bullying is, I think, a fairly natural progression from the what we were discussing last week about boundaries. I wouldn't say it's a topic I have a lot of expertise in. Maybe in the past it's something I've actually had challenges or difficulties in dealing with. So, but it'll be interesting nevertheless to sort of explore the topic and to try and find some workable strategies and other techniques um, that I can employ. And if I can sort of share something or give a bit of an insight, that'll be good. But I'll hand it over to Sanji. Sanji.
Thank you, Mike. And hello, everybody. Very nice to be here with you all. And Connie, and we miss Georgie today. She sent a message saying like I said, still, why don't you just join and be here? No, just be like in the chat, no? Like you can switch off the camera or mic and everything, and just like we are sitting in one place now. But I think she had not seen that message yet. So I'm Sanjeev, a meditation teacher. I live now more close to the coastal area of Sri Lanka. So yeah, these days it's raining a bit and it's a bit like awkward weather. It's one moment it's shine and then it's rain. Yesterday I got thoroughly wet and all. So yeah, it's been a nice time like walking in the beaches, doing online work and these kind of things. And yeah, feel more free working on in like a solo way, you know. So yeah, that's about me. So yeah, I think bullying is a good topic because I think we all have gone through at some time or in one way or another, no, through we'll dive into the topic. There are so many ways, no, from childhood, within the family, and at school for sure. You know, and maybe we also had bullied somebody at some point, right? And yeah, right, can be it can be good because we'll go dive into that and surely in workplaces, emotionally, no, physically, even things like sexually, right? Some people, no, and verbally, no, and the mental harassment, so many things are associated. So yeah, and even in society, no, ethnic wise, religious wise, within the religious community, the measurements of people, the how to say, shaming them or downplaying what they do, or like sometimes directly, no, or the parents say this, the kids go and say that to their kids, no. So likewise, like it can happen, and even in ethnic wise and some places have these caste systems and all, but still like there are these social like layers, no? And before there are in some places also racism and these kind of things also. And then the poverty factor, the rich factor, no? And then so I think there are so many cases of bullying in the human realm, no? Uh, in animal kingdom also we can see sometimes it's happening. They have like a ranking system, and when you observe the animals, sometimes for no reason they just bark on each other or just put the other animal on the floor and make it surrender, no? Or always showing their dominance and things like that. But we are human beings, so there should be some difference, no? But still it happens and it can end up in like very bad situations, no? We'll dive in. So I'll hand it over to Anthea and we can go ahead with the topic, no?
Thank you, Sanji. So I did a little bit of research before our conversation. So what I've come up with, and I was just listening to what Sanji was saying, and I was thinking that perhaps we could even add harassment, because bullying and harassment almost go hand in hand together. They might be slightly different, but that's something else that we could perhaps look at. So, with bullying behavior, it can happen in different settings, as has been described by my beautiful colleagues, my esteemed colleagues. So, it can happen in school, it can happen in work, it can happen in our personal lives, relationships, family. I'm thinking of sibling rivalry, because as Sanjay was talking about animals bullying each other, I have one cat at the moment, but I had two cats from the same litter. And one of them, the one I've still got, who's sitting next to me now, he was the runt of the litter. So his brother was bigger and stronger, and they used to fight all the time, like sibling rivalry. So I was thinking about that. It's almost a form of bullying. So with the definition of bullying, it's about ongoing deliberate misuse. So it's a power thing, deliberately misusing power in relationships through repeated, so it's repeated behavior, verbally, physically, social behavior, intended to, I can't read my own writing. Yes, I can. Intended to cause physical, social, or psychological harm. And it can occur individually, it can be a group thing, it can be in person, and more recently, it can be online, and it can be very significant to the point where people might take their own lives because they can't see any other way of escaping the bullying, which is really tragic. Really, really tragic. So, in terms of my experience with bullying, so I have to admit, when I was younger, I was the bully. I was very strong physically, and that was how I asserted myself with my two sisters by being the bully. And my mother, wisely or unwisely, I think it's wisely, I had a very bad temper, and I used to have tantrums, etc. And but she allowed me to express myself. And once, actually, the next door neighbor, so he was bullying me, and he said, I'm gonna throw you in, because there was a a spare a vacant block of land, and there was a lot of long grass in it, and it was all wet. And he said to me, I'm going to throw you in that wet paddock. And I said, oh, that's fine. If you throw me in the wet paddock, I'm going to hit you over the head with the cricket bat. And he did, and I did. And nobody told me off. I didn't get told off. And now I think about that, and I think, oh my God, I could have killed the guy. But yeah, so anyway, I've grown out of that bad temper. I still do have a bad temper, but I have to be pushed to the very, very edge to explode. And I do what I can to control that and to not allow it to get to that level. So in terms of other situations, I have had bullies in work situations, in sporting organizations as well, can be an area where there are bullies, or it can be, I suppose, other organizations that we're involved with that might be community groups, as Sanji was referring to, perhaps religious organizations. There can be bullying according to ethnicity, and I experienced that when I was in school because my father had migrated from Slovenia, former Yugoslavia in Europe, and so my father was European, my mother was Australian, and I don't know whether it's a Melbourne thing or it's widespread throughout Australia, but we used to get I used to get called a wog, which is generally someone of Italian or Greek uh ethnicity. But yeah, so I used to get called a wog. And I also was allergic to milk. I'm bringing back all these childhood memories. It's really fascinating. Things I haven't thought about for years and years and years and years. Anyway, I was allergic to milk when I was a kid, and so were my sisters. So we used to have these chains on our necks with, allergic to milk. So people weren't to give us milk because we got serious reactions. And this kid at school, that I think he called me a wog as well. He started calling me a dog because I had like a chain around my neck. So yeah. Anyway, I have also experienced bullying in the workplace, most definitely, and in different settings. But my experience is that it's it hasn't happened for a long, long time, and it's better. It seems better now, whether that's in the industry that I'm in, which is retail, and also working a lot by myself, for myself as a coach and healer. I'm not quite sure, but I haven't experienced bullying. Well, actually, I take it back. I have experienced a little bit of bullying and harassment more recently. However, my boundaries are getting a bit clearer, and my body seems to be telling me when something isn't right for me. I'm just having like this full bodily response that says, no, just move away from it. It's almost like my mind switches off and my body just moves away. So that's really interesting. All right. Having said all of that, I'll hand it over to Rae. I would love to hear some of her experiences as a nurse. My late mother, was a midwife and a nurse, and she used to have all sorts of stories about bullying and some of the matrons, and it was pretty horrific. So I'll love to hear what Rae and Connie have to say. So I'll hand it over to Rae now. Thank you.
Thank you, Anthea. Wow. Yeah, there's so much to talk about, isn't there? I've got a bit of a plan. So, like Sanji said, when I was young, a child and into my teens, it very much felt like that primal power struggle. It was like a fight for survival every day. And my parents, as fabulous as they were and still are, were not assertive. No one understood what assertive meant. And they were either meek and mild or yelling and screaming. And that's what they tried to teach us at school, right? So this is what they taught me as a child. If someone pushes you, punches you, does something physical to you, you must hit them back. And I had all these lessons about how to do it. And if you're going to hit a girl, you have to put your arm right back here and swing it like that, because it won't do much damage, but it'll look really scary. It's like, God, oh my God. So, righto, so kids would push you at school because we were always having to go at each other. And they pushed me, but it would take me a week to psych myself up to hit them back. It was so hard. It was so uncomfortable. So by the time I got around to punching them or kicking them back, they'd completely forgotten what it was for, and I would have to then explain. Remember, you pushed me last week. It was oh my God, it was just awful. And all the words they used to say, because they just push your buttons. So for me, my mum was a school teacher. I got hammered for that. I was taller than everybody else. I did all my growing. I stopped growing when I was 11. Right, so at 11, I was the tallest kid in the school. And then they all passed me. So whatever your buttons were, you're bigger than all this blah blah. The words, you weren't allowed to react to words. It was a sticks and stones. Sticks and stones won't hurt me. That's all we had in our toolbox to handle the disgusting things people would say to you. All right, so I launched into being a baby nurse with just that under my belt, and I struggled. They didn't bully me that hard because I pretty well learned how to get into people's good books straight away. So I was really good at that. I was really good at school, not because I was brilliantly smart, but because I could figure out what people wanted. I knew what the teachers wanted. I knew what they wanted on the exam. I knew what my mum wanted, and that's what I gave people. I was brilliant at that. All right, so I struggled away with the assertive. The whole thing was just a mess. I thought, oh, this is awful. And then one day I found this. It's a book called The Celestine Prophecy. Oh my God, it's my favorite book in the world. And they changed the context completely. They saw bullying as people trying to pull energy from each other. So everything was about energy. So there are only 4 ways that you can steal energy from another person. You are either, I have to just check my notes, you're either an intimidator. So an intimidator takes your power by yelling at you, by physically hurting you. They're really scary. They get in your face. They're really scary. And then so that's one. The second one is an interrogator, and this is what my mum was doing. So she would make you feel bad by her words, and she'd say, "Oh, you're not going out in that, are you?" Or why do you wear your hair like that? It doesn't suit you. She still does this, my mother. Yeah, just nasty things that would make you feel small. Yeah, that would make the interrogator feel superior to you. You would feel like less of a person than you. Right. So they're the two main in your face power grabs. Now, the opposite of those, the only way you can get power off an intimidator is if you're a poor me. Oh, don't hit me anymore, or I feel sick, or all that victim stuff, right? But so if an intimidator was getting really on top of the situation, the poor me could get back their energy by doing the sads, the poor me stuff. And the opposite of an interrogator is someone who goes aloof, and that was me. So you just shut down. You don't you give people the cold shoulder. You won't talk to them. Yeah, so you just retreat into your shell. So they have to come looking for you. Oh, what's wrong? Did I say something bad? So that is how an aloof person gets their energy back from an interrogator. Yeah. Right. So how do you handle all that? Oh God, I love this book so much. And Loris, my son, does this just naturally. Is you know when one of them has won or has taken your power because you feel really bad. So you feel bad, it's because your power has gone to them, so they feel good. And someone mentioned about accidentally bullying people. I've done that a few times without meaning to. And I remember I was on shift with an assistant in nursing. So that's a person, it was a girl who didn't actually have any nursing training, just a very basics. And they sort of handed you things and made beds and didn't do much. Anyway, this girl was pregnant, heavily pregnant, and I got her to go and wash her hands. I needed her to hold something while I did a dressing. I said, you go and scrub your hands. I didn't really understand how much she didn't know. So go and scrub your hands. And when she came through the curtains, we're taught to open the curtain with your elbow so you don't dirty your hands. And she opened the curtains like this. And I went, oh no, you've stuffed that up. You're going to have to go and wash your hands again. And I just like that. Just that's how I said it. But she just went to pieces. And the rest of the girls on the shift said, oh, what did you do to her? You were really mean. And she was crying. And I was like, oh, no. So I'd accidentally stolen her energy, and she felt really bad. So you know they've got your energy. If they feel better, because I actually did. I didn't feel, I did. I felt better. I felt like I'd done the wrong thing. I felt like I'd stood up for my patient and, kept my standards. But if I'm really honest, that felt good. Right? Even if you accidentally do it, feels good. Okay, so the trick is to not give them your power, and it's really easy. So the easiest thing to do, and this is a bit backwards because this is the hardest, but the easiest thing to do to stop giving someone your power is nothing. So they might say, "Oh my, geez, you look fat today," and you just look at them, no expression whatsoever. It's like, what are you even talking about? And they get nothing back, and then they will either try harder or they'll back up. Yeah, it's fascinating, and Loris is brilliant at that. And if you can't, when you're learning, you're better off to actually do something. So the best thing to say to a bully is, are you bullying me? With this sort of innocent look on your face. And then what are they going to do? They'll have to say, oh no, oh sorry. A soft bully will go, oh sorry. And a hard bully will have another go differently. And then you just go, well, it sounds like it to me. And then you can say things like, why don't you just go and have a sit down and come back and speak to me when you're a bit calmer? Things like that. It's really fun. Once you get good at it, this is really fun. And even in name the behavior, this book, the Celestine Prophecy talk, it says all you got to do is name the behavior. The minute you start to feel bad, it triggers, oh, okay, they're bullying me. And then you just say, oh, are you trying to explain what's going wrong by having to go at me or something like that? But some good examples. Someone had a go at me one day. I was walking down the corridor and they said, oh, gee, your bum's getting bigger with that. I just got an office job. And they said, oh, your bum's getting much bigger since you got that job. And I said to her, who taught you to bully? And then found out later that she was a really terrible victim of domestic violence. She had the worst husband in the world. But it just opened up a conversation where she took all the wind out of her sails. And then she actually told me who taught her to bully. It was amazing. So who taught you to bully? Are you bullying me? And then what Loris's favourite one, he reckons, is he goes, are you all right? Are you okay? And yeah, because why are they stealing your energy? There's a reason. There's a reason they're trying to steal their energy. They obviously don't have enough power of their own. So it's a really compassionate way to stop the behavior in its tracks, and maybe you'll actually get a friend out of it. And it's also a teaching opportunity. If you don't take, because the people that try and bully Loris are men on mining coal mines, like they're tough. A lot of those blokes are really tough blokes. And he had someone who wanted to fight him because Loris on the bulldozer has to direct the other trucks and things. And he, over the radio, and he said to this bloke, I need you to go and dump over there. And the bloke thought that that was not the right thing. And at Smoko, he went and had a real good go at Loris. And that's a stupid thing to do. Loris is 5'8", if he, on a good day with big shoes on. And, most of the bloke, they can be really big old blokes. And he just stood there with no expression and just stared straight at that bloke until he backed down. Like they were nose to nose there for a while. He just stood his ground as calm as he possibly could, knowing in his mind, I could take you if I have to. I can take you. And that bloke backed down. I thought, oh, I'm so proud of this wonderful child who didn't resort to violence. He was just amazing. And one more example. This was actually instigated by a hospital because, of course, there's lots of bullying. Because there's a different power base. It's, there's inherent power. The higher formal power you've got, and the easier it is for you to bully those beneath you. But that's a really dumb thing to do. But anyway, so a hospital brought into their operating theatres where surgeons are just another breed of human, completely separate to the rest on the planet. Mainly, they are. They have to be a bit autistic, I reckon, to be a surgeon, to be able to stand in one spot for 10 hours operating through a little, slit like that. That is not a normal thing to be doing. So they've got a weird, different mindset anyway. But then as they go through medical school, everybody pats them and treats them like God. And, oh, would you like a sandwich, doctor? And I'll clean up the mess for you, which made me and Connie really sick. But anyway, so nurses perpetuated their godlike syndrome that they had. And by the time they got to operating theatres, they thought they were just it. Yeah, which didn't go well. So this hospital invoked a thing they call Code Pink. So if a surgeon was going on a rant, and they do things like they would throw sharp instruments across the theatre. That's a real true story that happened in our hospital. Threw it across the room because the scalpel wasn't sharp enough. So they threw it at the nurse like, oh, lovely. Anyway, the other thing, yelling and screaming, carrying on. And someone would go, Code Pink. And then everyone else in the theatre and whoever else that heard the words would all come in, stand around that doctor and just look at them. Just same blank, and everyone, and they knew that they were really in trouble, and they'd usually apologise and go on. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, where you don't give them their energy, and just doing nothing, literally nothing, will stop that behaviour. There's a wonderful movie called August Rush. It's got Robin Williams in it. Have you seen that? Oh my God, it's with this little boy who was adopted at a very young age, who is a savant music-wise. He's absolutely incredible. And it's about his journey of how he escaped the orphanage and eventually found his parents. But in the orphanage, these three big kids, like years older than him, tried to bully him. And he just looked at them but with the most innocent face, and none of their words hit home, and it just fizzled out. But it's a really good example to watch. Yeah.
Mm.
So that's how I handle bullies now. I just go, you bullying me, or you just don't say anything, and my legs just take over. I don't even need to engage brain anymore. I'm going, oh, looks like I'm leaving. I'm just gone out of the situation. Yeah, so bullies are fun these days, and you can get to that point where, now bring it on. Bring it on. Yeah, you can't touch me. All right, Connie, what do you reckon? Tell us some of your stories.
Oh, well, look, when I was a kid at school, I was called a wog too, and they used to try and have a go, but all I did was stare at them. But you know my stare, Rae.
Oh my God.
Just that look. And it was a very focused, intense look. That's all I did. And they used to just slink away because that's all I needed to do. In nursing, you and I worked together. And we had great, bosses who were bullies at the time. But the worst ones, I think, were the doctors. And you know that doctor I'm talking about, who there was a patient who was ripping up everyone's medication charts, and I'd phoned him a few times, and he just wouldn't come, and eventually said, well, sister, you'll just have to cope. So finally he came, and we just looked at each other, and he was sitting down writing the new order for his patient, and she came along and tipped a vase of flowers over his head. And he looked up at me, and I just said, well, doctor, you'll just have to cope. And Rae and I walked out, and we laughed our heads off. He and we used to have staring contests because he wanted me to bow down to him, and there was no way I was going to do that. And so we had a few arguments, so I got Rae to take over from there. But that's how I deal with bullies. When I was working in outpatients, there was a really loud bully, and everyone was frightened of her. And she started, she'd get in your face, and she was so close that you could feel the spit on your face, and yelling and screaming. And I'd just say, your voice is really loud, in a really quiet voice, and just look at her with the look. And she'd go, oh, and off she'd go. So that's how you deal with bullies. Every now and then you do have to raise your voice and sort it out, because there was a kid next door to me. He was an apprentice, and he was with a tradie, and they were putting in an air conditioner, not at my place, but I could hear this bully going on, and he was terrible. He was running the kid down. And in the end, like Rae, my feet took me over there, and I fronted that bully and told him what I thought of him, and he told me to mind my own business. I said, no, I won't, because you're being a bully, and I won't deal with it. Anyway, apparently after I left, the young kid started speaking up for himself, saying, you can't speak to me like that. Now, that young kid, I didn't realise, came to my house one day, and he cleaned my air conditioners, and it was him. So there you go. He remembers that day very well.
Oh, we've lost her.
Give them a really focused, intense stare, and they just don't like it. That's for me. I think it's Michael now. Oh, hello.
Yeah, I'm sort of just reflecting on, I guess, my own life experience. Um, on balance, I have encountered, instances of bullying. Um, when I was at school, because I have very mild spastic cerebral palsy, so my gait's a bit different, and it's noticeably different if you're in a playground or a classroom or something. Um, and so I, used to get everything from innocent questions like, why are you walking like that? Or why can't you walk properly, through to things that were maybe a bit more emotionally charged. Um, I was I was fortunate because I was surrounded by good people. So in a school environment, good teachers, other students. I had the support of my siblings, so my sister and my brother, and I was very lucky, and I was also fortunately, probably in retrospect, a relatively good student. So I knew that in that sense, I could count on um, people being willing to, support me. Um, but when I look back on that, and one of the things I think that I would do now, and you mentioned it, Ray, is as I've got older, when I'm in situations similar to that, or just uncomfortable situations where I'm not okay with the dynamic, I'll vote with my feet a lot more quickly than I once did. Um, and I think some of the time you can, I used to sort of try to maybe negotiate my way out of situations, and that's still a worthwhile thing to do. But as I've got older, I've tended to realize that it's not always worth the cost to your sort of um to your well-being. And as with Georgie and Connie, and I think Ray said last week, you do have to protect your peace, and part of that sometimes is just saying, yeah, I can think of other places that I'd rather be right now. And not in a confrontational way necessarily, although sometimes confrontation is inevitable. Um, yeah, just I try not to give bullies or those sorts of dynamics any oxygen, if that makes sense. Um, I I imagine that being a nurse, because I'm still filled with admiration for a lot of the nurses that I encounter, and my sister's actually a midwife, so um that I encounter when they're having to deal with difficult patients, maybe difficult colleagues, difficult doctors, difficult family members, even. Sometimes it's, the family member of the patient who might be a bit challenging. So it's definitely interesting from my point of view to reflect upon your experiences. But Sanji, what do you think? What's your take on bullying, and how should we cope with it? And do you have any insights that you might like to share, Sanji?
Well, thank you, Mike. So, yeah, I feel at this our age, like the chances of being bullied are lesser than the younger times or when we were as little children, because we can be bullied by some kind of authority figure, no, some way of like policing or uh, some other thing, or usually manipulations, things like this can come at our age. No, but most of, because we are at a like mature age and we can sense something and we can definitely say. But I felt like when I was small and all, it was much more. So I also was the bully at times. So I'm not trying to just say like I was. Yeah. So I found a nice definition which was saying that bullying is a pattern of intentional and repeated behavior that causes physical, emotional, psychological, social, even financial harm to another person. It's not just like an argument or what happened, disagreement or something. This is intentionally done again and again and again, no? So, yeah, it's not just like, and they sometimes it seems like a power dynamic, like Rae said, no? We can see like usually people who are in power or like bigger build or like stronger in anything, even if it's a school, like some kind of team, no? Like a sports team or something, no? Or in the class, like big build and all. So, yeah, it can happen in like schools, families, schools, workplaces, uh, neighborhoods, like you said, no? So, even in religious communities, no, like it's very weird to know, but it's still people, no? And then you wonder, like, what, like, because people find some other way. Like, for example, I remember like some were telling, how we are from such and such a place, and these people are not. And they used to bring up that factor again and again, and because there's nothing else to put, right? What I want to say, you know, and then, or the amount of knowledge they had, or they had studied such and such and such amount, and these people don't know, or like, oh, they are just city monks or like temple monks, and we are like the forest monks. Like they had to find some way, and they were just like repeating themselves, but it was like a tormenting, like yeah, like just going on and on and on. So they say like there are three characteristics of bullying, uh, like somebody mentioned art of bullying, right? Like some lady mentioned art of bullying the other day. So yeah, it says like uh, it's a it's like intentional, it happens repeatedly, and then there's an imbalance of power. So and then they say like why people bully: the desire to have for power or control, insecurity of their self-esteem and themselves, and maybe it's a behavior they learn from parents and co-workers, peer pressure, need of attention, jealousy, fear of appearing weak, uh, difficult managing emotions, lack of empathy, past experience of bullying, being bullied by themselves, being bullied themselves also. So, like I said, I'll just go through the topics. There's physical bullying, hitting, kicking, punching, even spitting, things like that. Uh, uh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. And then there's like verbal bullying, like insult, name calling, mocking, threats, humiliation, racist remarks, sexist comments, religious insults. Then social bullying, uh, uh, like excluding someone from groups, spreading rumors, engaging others not to talk with a specific person, public harassment, gossip. So then there's like Anthea said, cyberbullying. This can be like hurtful messages, fake accounts, embarrassing photos, fake like they edit photos and put no public shaming. Even I saw instances like they encourage that person to like take their own life. And workplace bullying, constant criticism, public humiliation, uh, how to say, impossible deadlines, sabotaging work, false accusations, uh, the threats to employment, abuse of authority, family bullying. Uh, so, and then sexual bullying also. Maybe this is not mentioned much, but still, sexual jokes, inappropriate comments, body shaming, sexual rumors, unwanted like physical touch, harassment, and then there's identity-based bullying. So yeah, there are signs and ways of knowing somebody's bullied also. But in my experience, what happened was like in school times, I remembered like there were some bullies that they seemed untouchable, no? And they were like roaming the because we were in a like a all boys school and it was very tough. So at first it was play fighting and these things, but over the time, like they become more, some become more prominent and powerful. And can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, we have power cut, so I don't see you all there. Uh, then, so I remember like till the last stages of school, even like you try to fight them also, but they are too powerful in a way, and they have this gang-like group also. So you kind of hate them, no? And you avoid them and all. And and you have to stand your ground. I remember like once I thought like, oh, I be a good guy and just mind my own business and stay. Then even even some other guys who were not bullies would come and ask money or try to pick on you. Then you have to show your like kind of like you have to stand up or even sometimes pick a fight even, eh? So uh so uh, especially in school times and these kind of times, and then at workplaces, there are some bosses and all, like you all mentioned, it could be any work or, and some you see like they have some problems or they're always upset or they are in some kind of addiction and they put that stress on you. In schools also we saw, no, like some teachers, like there was some back in the day they used to beat the students up, but their family situation we got to know later, like uh, how to say their family situation was very bad. And finally, that teacher actually committed suicide. So all these things can apply. So in any place, any community, even in some areas, it's crazy. Like people say, "Oh, these people came new to this area." Then I asked, like, how much? Like, it's already 10 years, but still, we were born here. And they really like to say that, or they say like these outsiders. So there is like this kind of consistent thing going on. So when you stand up to these people, not to always fight, but at some point you have to face them, and it's always better to like have it in a good way. And there are ways like we can reflect and because it's their problem, no, actually. But that doesn't mean they should be able to walk all over us. But still, like in spiritual aspect, we can uplift ourselves and how to say, bring it into a way that doesn't like disrupt our peace or like the lesser anger that is involved. So yeah, from childhood, I remember like before our sister was more bigger than us. So then she used to beat us. Then I stood up to her. But I remember like I was doing the same thing to my little brother, no? So then at some point he grew bigger, then it stopped. So yeah, the patterns go sometimes. And then our father was kind of abusive. He would just repeat the same things which was really annoying at that time. And he was drunk also, no? So, and he would just say like again the same things again and again and again and again uh, for no reason actually. Uh, so you see that things happening. And we used to do these things for fun at school, but I think it's not a good idea because we had all these nicknames. No, you had there's a bunch of kids, and from school, small days, like even if you do anything, they would put a nickname. And then sometimes some were very harsh, and then and we also like with our stupidity at that time, we also join that group and do the same, no? And there were very sad instances I have seen, like at schools, even girls, no? Like recently, I saw a video like of this some very young girls. They were beating another girl up in another country, and peppers putting pepper spray, even kicking her face, and like how to say, in another video I saw like one little girl was her head was poured with glue, and I think she committed suicide. And there are instances they say like these bullies put other kids' heads into like toilets, and yeah, it can become really tough. And in even universities, like some even commit suicide. They call it like ragging season. But now it had come to a stage. Now the authorities are coming confronting them and try to stop it. So, but the who wants to join these frat parties and all these groups, or they think it's a sense of acceptance, but some even like it's too much, like they lose their lives even. And in militaries, you can see like places like prisons for sure, no? Like there are so many things involved in those places, right? There's constant harassment, bullying, the hierarchy, and it's like survival inside there from the things I have got to know from the people who are inside, no? So it is not easy. There can be some, and then uh, with all rules, regulations, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. Like there can be still harassment coming from the society we are living in. Like for some example, like there are places like people are punished for things like even there are some countries like even if you collect the rainwater, they can be punished. If you grow a seed and plant it, if you have a seed and you plant it, you can be punished by law. So these kind of harassments also can happen again and again, no? And then we see incidents like just maybe a traffic stop and then it goes really bad. The authority figure, it turns sometimes into a deadly situation even. Even road rages, no? Sometimes just an argument that can turn really bad. So maybe we can like dig into these like solutions another time. If you, so I'll hand it over to Anthea and let's see what others also have to say. Yeah.
Thanks very much, Sanji, and thank you, Michael and Rae and Connie, for your contributions. I think that having another session addressing solutions or ways to cope would be really beneficial because I feel like there's still a lot that we can share, and I would love to offer some solutions and ways of coping. Although Rae has addressed some ways that she has coped, and from the book, the resource that she has shared with us, there may be some other ways. Thank you. Celestine Prophecy. What's the author? Who's the author, please, Rae?
James Redfield.
James Redfield. There we go. So I think another session is warranted. And I was thinking about something else, but that's okay. It'll come back to me if it's important about another topic related to bullying, but that's okay. I think it's been a really, really interesting and thought-provoking discussion and conversation, and that bullying seems to be a part of human nature and animal nature. In terms of pecking orders, it sounds like sort of survival of the fittest, but we can rise above that. It doesn't have to be survival of the fittest because there's room for all of us. There's enough for everybody. There's enough resources, there's enough, love and consideration and space. We can all, have our own rightful space in this world. We all deserve to have our own rightful space. We deserve to speak our authentic truth and be our authentic selves and express ourselves in a way that's, safe and beneficial for the world without being knocked or, bullied or harassed. That's, I feel, a right that we all have, as long as we're doing it in a respectful way. So I would love to go around and for you all to share final comments or closing comments for tonight's session. And then we can put on our list another session, how solutions or tips for dealing with bullying. So I'll hand it over to Rae again for her closing thoughts.
It's really easy to be a bully. If I wanted to bully any one of you, all I would do is try and just pick one of your buttons. I might have a go at people with no hair or and if you guys are perfectly happy with your hair, I'll just have another go. I'll pick your ears. I'll just probe. You happy with those big toes? Or yeah. So that's how you do it. You just find the buttons and then press them. Simple. That's the formula for being a bully. But equally, I love bullies because they find my buttons, and because my job in life is to find my buttons and then get rid of them. That's what I call growth. Yeah. So the less buttons you've got, the less people can press them, and the more peaceful your life. Just one note on the online bullying these days, that it's easier to deal with because you don't have to answer straight away. No one can see your reaction. So you've got time to formulate your comeback, and you've got Chat GPT. So you don't even have to come up with a smart answer by yourself. But the one I've seen very often that works really well when someone's having a rant, and maybe let's just say someone's ranting on about a president or a TV presenter, say, oh, they're no good, blah, blah, blah. They're the most left, I don't know, whatever they're saying. And the response down the bottom is, she seems nice. So click on my little just how to get on back. Connie.
I think this session has been really valuable. I think another session, as Anthea thinks it, I think it would be good too. We've worked on the problem, and now we need to come up with the solutions well, I just find it staring right at them and saying nothing works, but that's just me. But yeah, I think another session would be very valuable, looking at the solutions. Michael.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm certainly open to a part 2. And yeah, I guess my sort of parting thought would be that maybe I find these days that if I've got clear boundaries and I've set clear expectations in an interaction pretty much from the beginning, it's easier to deal with. Because I think to some degree, and I don't want to be someone who's engaging in any victim blaming here, we do teach some people how to treat us by the way we interact with them. So yeah, that's where I think there is a role for healthy boundaries and healthy setting expectations. Expectation management can be useful. But I'll hand it over to Sanji.
Oh, thank you, Mike. You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, to end this for now, and I think we should look into solutions because many people I think are suffering from this, especially younger people. So what I would like to say is like if we see somebody being bullied, please try to help. And there are like a lot of places where you can seek help. If you are being bullied, like don't wait and like try to endure all those things. Like try to seek help. It could be somebody you feel safe at school, or some authority, or some person like that who can definitely tell your parents. And then if you see like things like they are they are they don't- they are hesitant to go to school or even at work or things like that, or as a colleague, uh, please try to help them and just see, because we don't want to lose people, especially good people or innocent people. And we'll talk about solutions, but it's always good to back them up. And if a person is being bullied because of internet and all, you can easily find access like places where you can get help. Uh, and if somebody's a bully themselves also, they also have to like reflect on themselves and see like, why am I even doing this? No, why would I need to do? And at some point it can be very hurtful, even thinking back, oh my gosh, what did I do? No. So some people may not realize, but at some point, so why go through? I think many of them sometimes maybe not knowing that, or they have some kind of fun, some kind of negative type of fun with that. But at least the person who's going through those difficulties, if they seek help, and if somebody can help them, that will be a wonderful thing. Okay, Anthea, over to you.
Thank you for that, Sanji. Yeah, just to reiterate what Sanji has said, we're never alone and we can always seek help from trusted people, whether they're friends or family, or like professionals. So please, please, please speak out if you need help, because people love you and people want to help you. You're a valued member of the community. So on that note, thank you all. Speaking of valued members of the community, I value you all and I'm very grateful and I appreciate your time and your beautiful faces, except for Connie's. We can't see her face. Oh, we can
Never
hear
mind.
her beautiful radio voice. And so thank you all very much. And until next time we meet, take care and look after yourselves. And thanks very much.
Okay, good night
Thank
to you
you.
all. Have a good rest
Good night.
and talk to you.